Okay, so I wanted to do another little demo today. I'm about to transfer this piece onto some watercolor paper, and I'm using a light table. It's a really simple homemade light table. It's just a pane of glass from an old window and a lamp, tiny lamp with a bright bulb. Obviously, try to get the room as dark as you can. Makes everything easier. So what I did is printed out my drawing at the size I wanted it in 6 separate pieces and taped that together. And I have that on the back of this paper, this watercolor paper. So now I'm going to do a really loose, pretty quick transfer here. And the reason I like to do it this way is because if you do the final drawing and then transfer that to whatever surface you're working on, transferring all that detail is just a really horrible thing to do. And so this way I'm going to give myself a very loose transfer based on this kind of refined drawing, but when I use my reference, the drawing is going to become even more refined, and that will be my final drawing on this watercolor paper. That way I do the final drawing once, and I've written about this. One of the benefits is it saves me a lot of time. One of the risks are that if you end up needing to make a lot of corrections on this watercolor paper and you're doing a bunch of erasing and drawing and more erasing, you could end up disrupting the surface, which will make it not a good surface to paint on, at least if you're painting in like a thin, transparent watercolor style. And so a few things I do to kind of help reduce that risk is use a soft pencil. I got a 4B here. So I'm gonna, and use a light touch. So I'm gonna lightly, well, I'll start now. Lightly transfer this drawing I've done my share of transferring detailed finished drawings, and it is it's horrible. It's definitely not my favorite thing to do. I usually start up in the left top corner. Because I'm right-handed, I'm going to work my way down and to the right. That way I'm not going over areas and smudging them with my hand. Still quite a bit of detail in this drawing. Just want to make sure I'm getting the general placement for all the things. Like this highlight, I think that's worth kind of loosely getting in there. Some of this stuff doesn't matter as much. It can be a little more scribbly if you know it's going to ultimately change a lot, because a lot of the stuff is definitely pretty suggestive, like this piece of ornamental fashiony whatever this thing is. I was looking at a lot of fashion from like the 1920s for this piece, because of the I think it was the 20s, because of the era of what this piece is about. Bring it back over to the left before I get too caught up in those details on the right. Like I said, I don't want to have my hand going over those areas and kind of smudging things up. Also, when I'm working on a piece like this, I tend to leave some areas a little light and loose for other reasons, and that's because I might foresee doing some wet on wet acrylic work, some bleeding and dripping, stuff like that. And so that stuff's hard to plan for, so I don't want to have like a really defined, detailed drawing where I think there might be some drippy, runny stuff. This area here, for example, of this tail, I could see that being some loose, drippy effects, and so, you know, you can see in my drawing it's not heavily detailed. There's usually something about drawing without reference, some freshness to it that I try to maintain. It helps to, you know, try and work that stuff out in my head before I take my reference. Although the reference does usually show me how bad my sense of anatomy is once I compare my drawings to the photo reference, you know, but that's fine. It's something I could work on. Could always get better. And you know, when you have a style that's not photographic, I think that can be a good thing, you know, like kind of deciding what you want to be stylized, or if you want to play around with proportions, etc. You don't have to be a slave to your photo reference. Sometimes anatomically things are impossible in a drawing, but you know, sometimes that makes them kind of weird and interesting. especially on a piece like this. A little creepy maybe. Definitely going for some creep factor here. I did shoot my reference for this already, and I've made some slight adjustments to the drawing before transferring it. Sometimes it's just, if you know you're going to have to change some things or something's a little too far off, then best to do it a little ahead of time and not, I guess it depends on how confident you are in making corrections on the paper. Like I said, some corrections are definitely going to happen, but you don't want to do too much erasing and redrawing on watercolor paper. Now, if you haven't done a lot of transferring with a light table, every now and then you want to turn on another light source and compare it to what you see, because sometimes you'll miss an area and not realize it. turning this light off. Print out here. Let's see. And one other thing to help with if you do have to make changes, I don't remember if I said this earlier, but a kneaded eraser is really good for gently pulling up any pencil markings you've laid down without messing your paper up too much. So again, soft pencil, light touch, kneaded eraser, and practice. So this is transferred. Once I get the final drawing done, I'll be sharing that. And thanks for watching.